then you see this individual. Let's see, Gavin Newsome called up for dodging questions after blowing $24 billion.
Angela Hart, KFF Health News. Thank you. I have a recently the state auditor found that California wasn't doing a great job on tracking its homelessness spending, and this isn't a gotcha question.
Yes, it is.
You're doing more than any other governor in the country, really, to address this crisis. So I have a two-parter for you. Do you acknowledge, Governor, is your administration doing enough to determine whether the money that's being plowed into homelessness is being well spent?
It's not.
And do you worry? I'm curious, do you worry that the appetite is souring among the public for spending more, given the lack of progress that's happening?
No, I appreciate the question and the frame. It's the right question. So when I ask myself all the time, as you know from the audit, one of the vexing issues that was highlighted in the audit was local.
$24 billion.
Cha-ching.
24 billion.
And nothing was accomplished. Pure California, by the way. It's a long tradition there.
If you took 24 people and made them billionaires, you would have done more.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially if they weren't far left, you know, they would invest in the state. Well, they'd probably invest in Texas, but
yeah, they would leave California a million or immediately. $24 billion, and they've done nothing. You could have built, I don't know, tens of thousands of tiny homes. They do nothing. The homelessness, by the way, actually went up 6%. They have 180,000 bums there. 100.
Yeah, it's the population of a decent sized city. Exactly. But they don't care about them. Gavin Newsome sees them as an election wedge. So he'll lord that over people and say, well, we must do more, you know, sign my policies and stuff like that. Vote for me. And this time I'll actually do something about it.
By the way, another fun fact, California is home to 33% of all homeless in America.
Also not a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, they do have programs that make it easier to be homeless there. You listen to a lot of these homeless people talk about it. You know, like addicts go to Seattle, Portland, because they make it really easy to be an addict there. But I mean, it is absolutely insane. $24 billion, and the homeless crisis has gotten worse.
I would expect if you're going to be homeless, being in a climate that's relatively temperate like that, like, you know, in Central California is probably easier though. Yeah. You wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't want to be, I'd rather be homeless in Bel Air than in Vermont.
Well, and you look at, you know, quite frankly, like Hawaii obviously has a huge homeless problem. Florida has a huge homeless problem. It's not uncommon. You know, you don't want to be homeless in Wisconsin. You know, it sucks.
You'd end up turning into a snowman.
Yeah. And it's like for some, the audit confirms fears of a homelessness industrial complex, a gravy train of funders, officials, shelter owners, and charities more keen on swallowing public funds than solving the problem. To bring back a term from our childhood, no doy.
Yeah. If you solve the problem, then you can't grift money anymore. It's just like if there were a cure for AIDS, like a surefire pill that you could take to cure AIDS, it'd get shelved indefinitely. It would never actually get released to the market.
Right. Same thing with cancer. Like it would be, or like some forms of cancer. You know, cancer is inevitable in the human body, in most living tissue organisms. But like, yeah, it's like $24 billion pours into that state. Homelessness gets worse. And they're like, hey, we should do more of it. All we need to do is burn more. But it's everybody between Gavin Newsome and the homeless that are getting rich. Not to say that the homeless don't have good problems in California or good programs, because they do. We know that they do because they keep migrating there. There is nothing really unique about California that makes people more homeless than other nations or other states. It's the way they treat their homeless. The sheer amount of money they piss away to make their lives easier Again,
Yeah.
not to dunk on the homeless.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make their lives easier, that's a wonderful, charitable, great thing to do. But the goal should be to get them to not be homeless. And it seems like in a lot of Vermont has this problem too. It seems like it's more like keep them on life support, make them semi-comfortable, and then not expect anything further to happen. Like there's no attempt to actually rehabilitate those that are homeless because they're mentally ill. There's no real attempt to clear up the druggies and they're homeless because they're on drugs or they're boozing up all the time or something like that. There's no real further attempt. I wouldn't call that charity at all. You're basically just making somebody comfortable. It's like hospice care or something. Well, basically, you're a lost cause and you're dying. Well, we'll give you some morphine, something like that,
or fentanyl. You know, like whatever that is there. Like it's wild. You know, I think that a lot of, you know, you have a lot of people that choose to be homeless allegedly, but that is not a large percentage of the homeless population.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, there's always going to be some hobos and beatniks, but I mean, you know, they're not going to seek the help anyway.
Yeah, I mean, right. And I mean, you just look at New York, the amount of homeless there that have mental illness is like, that are suffering from mental illness problems, schizophrenia, drug addiction. It is like, these are not a lawyer that got down on his luck, came home and his wife was cheating on him, and then he lost his job. These are drug addicts that have a, you know, they're complete drain on society. And we've continued to, the Democrats fail them. They don't get them clean. They don't get them help for their mental health issues. Yes, I know some people, you know, some homeless are beyond saving, but I refuse to believe that, what did I say? 130,000 people, none of those 180,000, they can't fix any of them. They can't help any of them with,
yeah. Well, they don't want to help them.
Right.
That's the thing. It's the Gavin Newsome says, well, it's cheaper to just give them some ramen soup and, you know, give them a tent.
Well, and then like where
through the asylum system is inhumane, they say, while letting the mentally ill roam in the streets and be out in the cold during the winter of New England or something like that. It's really humane, by the way.
And letting them stab and attack innocent bystanders also,
or each other.
Awesome. Yeah,
and then they get victimized too. I mean, what do you think the rate is if a person's homeless and mentally ill, especially, or addicted or something, so they're passed out in the sewer? What do you think the rate is of them getting sexually assaulted or raped? It's way, way higher than for the general population.
There's all sorts of turf wars and crime amongst the homeless communities. If you've watched any of the like documentaries about it or in-depth, you know, street reporting. I mean, I don't know who did it. I don't know if Savannah Hernandez did it or somebody else was doing a little deep dive into Trank in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, there were dozens of people sitting on the park bench. There was a guy that lifted up his pant leg and it was all rotted flesh.
I saw that.
I was like, gee, like, what in the fuck is going on?
And like, the thing is, do you remember Crocodile when that first became a thing? Yeah. You know, the bathtub heroin they were mixing up in like in Ukraine and Russia and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember how that became a meme? Like, oh, those holes and vat leaks over there. They're shooting up bathtub heroin and they're fucking themselves up. It's like, that's happening here, everyone.
Yeah, it's happening.
But it's out of sight, out of mind from their gated communities and their middle-class suburbs. They don't see it.
Yeah, the Trank stuff is the Trank stuff is real. I don't know if I can. I don't want to show a picture. I don't need to show a picture. You guys can look it up yourself. And there are
just look up rotting and gangrenous flesh.
Yeah, there's a guy that like his shirt was like growing into his skin, and they're still shooting up, like because they're so hopelessly addicted, and it's like, what in the like. These people, like, what's more humane? Letting that happen or putting them in a padded room for 12 months and forcing them to get clean?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess, you know, the old...
Well, that's the answer. The answer is quite obvious. It's just that people have a false equivalency at this point. Like, well, it's involuntary isolation. Well, yes, but the person is quite literally a threat to themselves and others. They're going to die anyway. Can we at least try? Can we at least try once? to get them clean. Maybe there's only a 10%, maybe even a 5% rate of success. Can we try?
Yeah.
Try to save a handful of these people?
I bet I would propose that if you picked 100 of these people who are hooked on trank, which is probably the dregs, right? The mortality rate has got to be higher than 80%. I guarantee you would save more than 20% of them if you put them in a jail cell for a year. And they have to get clean.
We don't even need that. What we need is addiction rehab that actually works. But in the United States, anally retentive as it is, it won't even experiment with half of the psychotropics that could potentially get a person clean, like iboga, ayahuasca, LSD even. That's been indicated as psilocybin with potential addiction treatment.
Well, it's that, and obviously, just like, the industrial homelessness complex, you have one for rehab. The average number of time, the amount of money that gets poured into our commercialized rehab systems is in the billions, and it doesn't work. Like, most people have to go to rehab multiple times, and even then the success rate is extremely low. And like, the money keeps pouring in though. Like, I guess I'm not saying a jail cell, but I mean like a nice facility where, let's say where we're housing all these illegals. Maybe we send them back and then we let drug addicts get a chance to get clean. And then you can heal them, give them medical care, give them purpose, and then set them free after a year. See what happens. I bet you.
The sad part is that if we had a more cohesive society in which people's families and friend circles hadn't broken down, half of these addiction cases wouldn't even happen.
That's true.
But the government and the powers that be, the malevolent ones, probably who I'm talking about, are deliberately attempting to rip that apart.
Yeah, I mean, there's no support system.
Commies, subversives.
There's no support system anymore. There's no shame anymore. The public has tried to, like, you used to see people shooting up in shame, like in dark alleys. Now they shoot out in the open.